All right. Hello, good evening. I am Rorschach with the Game Reactionists.
And I'm Spectre.
And we got a special video tonight. We are doing the Nintendo World Championship Deluxe Edition unboxing. A little late on this. This came out last week, Thursday. It's kind of the downside of games releasing close to a weekend. You miss out on like being able to play it for the first time or do unboxings. Spectre, I know you're a family man yourself. You do family events on the weekends. You work during the week and then you got shit to do during the weekend.
We got busy schedules. It's not always easy to just I wish we would have started this like back when we were in high school or something.
Yeah, no kidding. We really missed the boat on that. So before we get into business here, if you haven't already, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you're aware of when we upload new content. But let's get right into this. So I don't know too much about this. I thought this was more akin to like the NES remix games on the Wii U and the 3DS. But I learned recently that this was actually a real thing that occurred in like the late 80s or something like that. Like Nintendo actually held a world championship of some of their games. I didn't know that.
This was a big marketing thing for them back in the day. Late 80s, early 90s, they did this with the NES and on through to the SNES. And they kind of fizzled after that for the most part. But these became like really, and to this day, really sought after collector's items. These championship cartridges, but they were events that were put on by Nintendo, official events with trophies and competitions. And very famously, there was a movie that was essentially an ad for Mario 3 that featured essentially a Nintendo World Championship tournament starring Fred Savage. So
Okay.
that was it was a glorified ad for Mario 3.
Okay.
And so I mean this was a thing once upon a time, and this was actually like a real thing. And it's kind of cool that they're making reference to this, going back, like what, 30, 40 years now?
Right. Yeah, and I'll be completely honest with you. I mean, I have no intention of playing this ever. From what I understand, this is essentially like a speedrunner's paradise. You go through various levels from various games, and you try to get the best time that you can with doing that. I have no desire in that personally. I know I got this purely for the collectible aspect. You get some pretty cool stuff in here. You get the game itself, of course. Physical game. You get a replica game pack in the form of a gold NES cartridge. It's not playable, which is unfortunate. You get a pin set featuring some iconic characters from Nintendo as a company, and then some art cards featuring the cover art of some of Nintendo's most popular titles from the NES. So you get a pretty good amount of stuff with it, and it retailed at $59.99. So I figured, for a game that I'm never gonna play, I get some pretty cool collectibles at the very least for $60. So, and I had some Best Buy points actually, so I really paid $5 for this package. It's pretty much a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, not too bad at all. I do think that there really is no excuse for not having a functional cartridge with this. I mean, there's people on Etsy that can make functional NES cartridge reproductions for under $20. I mean, a company with Nintendo's resources, I mean, there's really no excuse here to not have it be functional. I think that would be a big selling point for this too. They're like, hey, you get we're releasing a working NES cartridge after all these years, since they discontinued the console back in like the early 90s. That would have been really cool. And kind of a selling point for it. But I mean, I guess you could turn it into a functional cartridge if you're really, if you really wanted to, you could use the shell of it. But I mean, it is, that's the only glaring flaw I'm seeing to this here.
Yeah. Well, getting right into it, first here's the Switch game itself. You got your pretty standard Switch case, Nintendo World Championship NES Edition. Here's the backside to it, going over the various different levels. So this is fully sealed, and it's gonna stay sealed because I'm not gonna play it. This will be one of those things that'll just skyrocket in price. 20 years from now, and my kids can buy a brand new car off of it, something like that.
Probably not, but I mean, it probably will go up in value, but I don't think that much.
Yeah. Who knows? And then here are the art cards. These are actually really good quality. So kind of do a speed run of these, so to speak. So here's the original Mario Brothers art card. Really good visual, and there's a front and back to it. So I thought that was pretty cool. Legend of Zelda, and then Link. Now I don't know about you, but I don't really have a huge affinity to the original NES. Of course, I played like Duck Hunt. I played the original Mario Brother games on the NES, but I didn't really become familiar with Nintendo until Super Nintendo, and that's purely because that was the generation that I was born into.
Same here. Yeah, I mean, we're about the same age. I'm a little bit older, slightly older, but I mean, I think the NES was it had its glory days right around when we were born, essentially. So we didn't really, you can't really game until you're at least like a toddler or more, So by the time I was able to actually play a game by myself, it was around like when the SNES launched. I had an SNES and enjoyed that quite a bit. Then kind of formative years from middle school and going into high school, that was Nintendo 64, which is why I have a lot of nostalgia and a strong affinity towards that. But yeah, NES, I mean, I got nothing against it. It's just it wasn't really. It was I just was too young for it at the time. I played plenty of NES games. There was a lot of hand-me-downs and stuff, but I don't have the same connection that somebody that was maybe born in the early 80s might have had to it.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. Now, there was one interesting thing I wanted to mention here. It was about the card. Little fun trivia here. I'll need your help on the game title. But Super Mario Brothers 2, the American release, was actually an entirely different game, not featuring Mario at all.
Correct. Yeah. So in Japan, they got the official Mario 2, which was in the West became known as Mario the Lost Levels, Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels. That was essentially the official Mario 2, which was very similar to original Super Mario Brothers, but just with a heightened difficulty, really ramped up difficulty. When it was localized to the West, they went with a kind of a different approach. They took another game called Doki Doki Panic and kind of retooled that, reskinned that to make that into what we know in the West as Mario 2. So we would eventually get Lost Levels in the Mario All Stars compilation that was on SNES, but yeah, that's it's essentially Doki Doki Panic, but it's reskinned with Mario characters.
Yeah, and I always thought that was a fun little piece of Nintendo trivia. I'm sure a lot of people by now know about that, but there might be younger viewers out there who don't know about that, or even viewers of our generation who didn't know that and were just like, oh, I thought that was always Super Mario Brothers 2. I didn't know there was a different game out there entirely. So,
and it wouldn't be the last time it would happen too. It happened with a bunch of other games too. I always tie everything back to Nintendo 64. Pokemon Puzzle League, you might be familiar with that game.
Yes,
that was actually, I can't remember the Japanese title for it, but it was originally. There's a reason why it was only released. Pokemon Puzzle League was actually an North American and Europe exclusive. It was actually not released in Japan. But it was originally going to be a different puzzle game that they used like a different engine for it. Actually, eventually would end up being released in a Japanese compilation on the GameCube. So that it wouldn't be the last time that they trying to localize things over in the West. They kind of change things around a little bit like that.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Interesting. That's an interesting bit of.
I love little trivia like that.
Trivia, so. Yeah. All right, and then here's the cartridge. It does come complete with the a Nintendo cartridge slip that you would find in original NES games. I think that's a pretty cool novelty there.
I like that, and limited run games is actually kind of emulated that as well too for some of their NES inspired releases as well too. So I like that kind of that classic protector.
And then here's the cartridge itself. A nice, good-looking gold cartridge. I know you said you could get fancy with it. The downside is, if you look on the inside, There's nothing there. You would really have to hollow out the plastic, and at that point, you probably risk damaging this particular cartridge itself.
I wonder if it's probably hollow on the inside. I mean, you could probably fit a board in there fairly easily. You just would have to do a little bit of cutting.
Yeah. So there's that catch-22. What I do
Does
like,
it feel solid or is it hollow?
It feels about the weight of a NES cartridge. It's hard to
so
say.
It's probably hollow.
I will say there are screws on the back here, so I am curious that, and it's traditional Phillips screws.
Oh, okay. It's got to be. It's got to be. It's interesting. It's actually Phillips screws too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's got to be hollow then.
Yeah. What I do like here is on the back side, you've got various icons. Get a real nice close up here from some of the different games of Nintendo's history. So I do like that. That's a pretty cool artistic piece right there. But yeah, that's the gold cartridge. I'd be remiss if I said that I wish it wasn't a playable cartridge. To your point earlier, I think you make this a playable cartridge, and Nintendo sells out of this in droves. And then, they just make money hand over fist on this. People would love the ability to play this on, their original Nintendo or whatever, retro duo system that's out there, and be able to mess around with it on an actual NES cartridge. So, probably a missed opportunity there. I don't know if Nintendo really cares. All the same, still a pretty cool looking collector's piece there. And then last but certainly not least are the collector pins themselves. Pull these out real quick. And these look real nice. I think these are very, very cool looking. You've got basically a pin for every iconic character that Nintendo is known for.
I like that. It comes in like that little box there that's very displayable as well too if you wanted to display it. So yeah. I think it looks really nice.
This might be the one thing that gets displayed because it's the easiest thing to display. And I have a very nice curio cabinet to display these in. But yeah, all in all, it's a pretty good piece. Again, it retailed at $59.99. There is a digital version, so if you're a person who actually cares about the game itself and wants to do all the speedrunning trials, there is a digital version you can buy for $29.99 through the Switch eShop. If you're a person who cares about physical ownership, little nudge about what our next video may end up being, one of our next podcasts. $59.99. I don't think that's a terrible price point. I think that's pretty fair. You get a lot of cool collectibles in it. You get a full packaged game with it. Even the box it comes in, it's a nice collectible cardboard box, similar to that of like the Smash Brothers Ultimate box. So I'm happy with it. This is a no-brainer for me. I paid $5.28 for it. So, this is
those reward
easy.
Certificates come in handy, right? Yeah, I just got a game myself with it, pretty cheap too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I like this. I don't think this is a terrible thing. I mean, like I said, the only glaring flaw, like I said, was just making the cartridge playable. I would hope that they would try to do this again with, I know for a fact there was Nintendo Championships into the SNES era. I know Star Fox was one of the games involved with that too. So I mean, I know it was something that they kept on going even after, and it really was all, Nintendo's really big on, has always kind of been, even to this day, big on live events. And I remember in a local mall, this around the time the Wii came out, they had it wasn't really a competition, it was more so like just a big play demo. They really like to have these like live event type of things when they can.
Yeah.
And little competitions and stuff, so it is part of their kind of their history in a way to this day. So yeah, no, I think it's pretty neat for what it is. It's well priced for what it is too.
Yeah, I'm very happy with it. Well, that'll do it for the NES edition unboxing. I did get my Shadow of the Erd Tree art book for my collector's edition, so I'll be doing an addendum to our Shadow of the Erd Tree collector's edition unboxing, showing off the art book. I'll just probably splice that right into the middle of the video somehow. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm glad Bandai Namco kept their word. They said that those should be shipping out around July 15th, and here we are on the 23rd. I got it today, so I'm very happy with that. Finally, my $250 DLC collector's edition is now complete. Anything we can expect from you coming up?
Yeah, I got a couple of videos coming up here. I have a kind of a long await. I've talked about it for a while. My Nintendo 64 collection. I want to do a video on that because I've recently hit a really big milestone. So I figured it would be a good time to kind of introduce that to everybody. I can't show off the full room, the full game room that's in, but I'll creatively shoot that video so you just see the N64 collection, focusing on that. And then I also have an unboxing video coming up. I'll probably have to do that one solo since I know you got some time away from the channel here for a little bit soon.
Yeah.
But I have an unboxing video coming up for World of Warcraft: The War Within expansion, the collector's edition for that. And that's mostly going to be centered on the statue as the centerpiece for that. I will give my thoughts on War Within and kind of the state of retail WoW, since I'm discussing it anyways. But I am very much a classic player, so I'm really, my primary motivation for getting that is going to be that statue. So the statue is going to make or break it for me, because that's the 20th anniversary of World of Warcraft statue. So
are you going to be playing that content at all, or no?
No.
Okay.
No, I do not play retail WoW. I gave it up 2 expansions ago now, and
I don't know. What do you mean by retail WoW?
Yeah, so just a very brief explanation for that. So retail WoW refers to modern World of Warcraft that with all the expansions included, and that's to differentiate it from classic WoW, which is still ongoing as well. Classic WoW was essentially a relaunch of World of Warcraft from the very beginning, more or less. Okay. And then there's also, to make it even more confusing, there's also what's referred to as vanilla World of Warcraft, which is referring to the time period of around 2004 to 2008 or so, when the game first came out. So that's kind of the different eras of World of Warcraft, and retail WoW is just usually used to refer to modern World of Warcraft, which I no longer play.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. Well, that'll do it for the NES World Championship Deluxe Edition unboxing. Once again, I am Rorschach with the Game Reactionists.
And I'm Spectre.
We appreciate you watching, and we'll catch you guys next time.